For centuries, we've been taught that the powers shaping our world are guided by politics, economics, and diplomacy. But what if there's something far older, something sacred, driving the deepest alliances on Earth? What if hidden behind flags and governments lies a secret so powerful it could reshape the fate of humanity? This isn't just about prophecy, it's about blood, and it might already be too late to look away. There has always been something peculiar about the unwavering bond between the United States and Israel. On the surface, it appears to be a geopolitical alliance built on shared democratic values, mutual defense interests, and cultural ties. But when one looks deeper, far deeper, into the layers of history, prophecy, and the quiet whispers that echo through the halls of secret societies, a more enigmatic story begins to unfold. A story not merely about nations, but about bloodlines, ancient ones, sacred ones, and perhaps even divine ones. Could it be that the US government, knowingly or not, is entangled in a divine mission to protect and preserve the bloodline of King David? The idea may sound outrageous at first. A modern superpower dedicating its hidden hand to the safeguarding of a millennia-old lineage rooted in biblical prophecy. But history, when examined without blinders, often reveals patterns too precise to dismiss. The House of David, a dynasty established over 3,000 years ago in the hills of Judea, was prophesied to endure forever. King David's lineage was to be eternal, culminating, according to both Jewish and Christian eschatology, in the coming of the Messiah. This alone gives the bloodline unimaginable power. Any descendant of David's line, especially if acknowledged and legitimized, could potentially alter the course of history and fulfill long-awaited prophecies. But where did this lineage go? After the Babylonian exile, the kingship of David seemed to vanish. Yet according to rabbinic tradition and esoteric sources, the bloodline never disappeared. It simply went underground. Hidden, scattered, waiting. Throughout history, various monarchs in Europe, especially in the British Isles, claimed descent from David. Some did so openly, others more subtly. In more recent decades, research into genealogical records and DNA studies, often kept quiet from public discourse, has allegedly revealed surprising connections between ancient Judean blood and modern political elites. And this is where the United States enters the picture. A nation forged not only through revolution, but through symbolism. The Founding Fathers were not merely political thinkers. Many were Freemasons, Rosicrucians, or men deeply steeped in esoteric traditions. They built Washington, D.C., according to sacred geometry, aligning monuments and government buildings with celestial events and ancient symbols. Could it be that beneath their ambitions for liberty and justice, they were also laying the groundwork for something far older, something biblical? According to some interpretations, the United States was always intended to be a New Jerusalem, a sanctuary for the preservation and eventual revelation of divine truths. The fierce and often blind allegiance of American leaders to Israel, regardless of political party, transcends conventional strategic logic. Billions of dollars in aid flow year after year. Diplomatic cover is given at the UN with unwavering consistency. And perhaps most curiously, high-ranking U.S. officials often consult directly with certain religious authorities in Jerusalem, individuals rumored to be guardians of secret genealogical records. One cannot forget the curious case of the so-called Davidic Project, a rumored operation said to exist within the shadows of American intelligence. Whistleblowers and anonymous insiders, whose claims have been dismissed as delusional or conspiratorial, have spoken of a classified initiative aimed at identifying and monitoring individuals across the globe who possess traceable Davidic lineage. This initiative, allegedly involving the NSA and a coalition of Israeli intelligence services, is said to operate not merely for surveillance, but for protection. The bloodline in this theory is not just a historical relic, it is an asset of immeasurable spiritual and geopolitical value. But why protect this bloodline now? What is the urgency? Because we are nearing the end of a cycle. Many ancient calendars, including the Hebrew one, suggest that we are approaching an epochal shift. Religious scholars point to the convergence of prophetic signs, wars, natural disasters, moral decay, as indicators that the era of the Messiah is near. And if the Messiah is to come from the line of David, then that bloodline must be preserved at all costs. Some say he has already been born, not publicly known, not yet awakened to his role, but alive. A child, or perhaps a young man, living somewhere in the world. If so, wouldn't it be logical for the world's most powerful government to ensure his safety, to guard him from those who would seek to manipulate or destroy him? After all, the emergence of a true Davidic heir would not just fulfill religious expectations, it could destabilize global power structures, expose false kings, and ignite a spiritual revolution. There are subtle hints everywhere, from cryptic statements by American presidents referencing divine destiny and God's chosen people, to the ever-increasing intersection between politics and apocalyptic evangelicalism. Several presidents have participated in quiet ceremonies with Israeli rabbis who claim descent from the ancient priestly classes. Why? What do they know that we don't? The Temple Institute in Jerusalem has already rebuilt the sacred vessels for the Third Temple. Red heifers are being bred in Texas under mysterious funding arrangements and sent to Israel. Genetic priests, Kohanim, are being identified. The stage is being set. And behind it all, perhaps in the deepest corridors of the Pentagon or in a secret room within Langley, there are files, dossiers, and maps marked with a strange seal, Malkut David, the Kingdom of David. Could it be that the entire geopolitical machinery of the modern era has been subtly engineered around this singular goal, that beneath wars, treaties, and alliances lies an ancient oath? Perhaps the real reason the U.S. invaded Iraq wasn't just oil or weapons of mass destruction, but something buried near Babylon, something connected to the line of David. Perhaps the preservation of that line is the final secret of American power, the true hidden covenant. And yet, there is a darker side to this theory. If the bloodline is being protected, is it also being manipulated? Throughout history, the Davids of the world have often been co-opted by those with darker ambitions. What if the heir is not merely being guarded but groomed, molded into a Messiah that serves not God, but men? Could we be nearing a time when a false Messiah rises, a descendant of David, yes, but one whose purpose has been twisted by power and influence? One who will be used to usher in a new world order, cloaked in spiritual language, but devoid of true divinity. This question becomes even more pressing when we look at how technology now intertwines with ancient belief. Genetic editing, artificial intelligence, surveillance, all tools now in the hands of those who may be orchestrating the return of the king. If a descendant of David is found, could his DNA be enhanced, his mind monitored, his image projected globally as a savior? The public would never question it. The Messiah, after all, is expected to unite the world, to end war, to bring peace. But peace under whose terms? Freedom under whose control? Perhaps the ultimate test will be not whether the heir exists, but whether he can resist the forces that seek to use him. And perhaps that is why the bloodline has been kept hidden for so long, not just to protect it from destruction, but to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. So the next time you hear a politician speak of eternal bonds or witness yet another unquestioned defense of Israeli interests, pause. Consider what lies beneath, not just strategy or sentiment, but something older, something sacred, something dangerous. The blood of David may still flow through human veins today. And if it does, then the battle for the soul of the world has already begun, not with armies or weapons, but with lineage, secrecy, and an ancient promise. And the question that remains, hidden in plain sight, is this: will the heir rise as a savior or a pawn?